Serbia, a landlocked country of 6.6 million people in southeastern Europe, an upper-middle-income economy, a well-known country in the world of sports, the home of tennis player Novak Djokovic, who has the all-time record of 24 Grand Slam men's singles titles, and Nikola Jokic, a two-time NBA MVP, one of the most successful countries in men's water polo, and one of the best in the world in volleyball. At the last Summer Olympics, they were number 28 in both the gold medal count and the total medal count, despite their small population, which ranks 107th in the world. Soccer is the most popular sport in the country. Tennis, volleyball, water polo, handball, and basketball are also quite popular. So what about baseball? It's not a country you hear much about on the international stage for baseball, and no individual players have made it to any of the top leagues. But in this crowded sports market, there is a decent number of enthusiastic players. It's said that the first time baseball was played in Serbia was in 1935 when it was part of Yugoslavia. It was played as a demonstration during the intermission of a soccer match. There doesn't seem to be any follow-up to that single event. And of course, war broke out in Europe soon after. It was invaded by the Axis powers in 1941. Baseball vanished in a lot of European countries at that time. If there was anything going on for baseball in Yugoslavia at that time, the war most certainly ended it. Right after the war, the country became communist, and as was seen in other Eastern European countries at that time, baseball and communism didn't mix very well. Maybe in the Caribbean, but not in Eastern Europe. If it wasn't banned outright, it was at least looked down on and received no funding. Baseball reappeared in the 1970s, being reintroduced by the neighboring Italians. Clubs were formed in Yugoslavia, and Italian teams would visit and play. In 1979, a group of 13 to 15-year-olds played in the European Cadet Championships. In the 1980s, baseball became an Olympic sport, and this followed with countries around Eastern Europe finally recognizing it. Clubs were started up around Yugoslavia, and what is now Slovenia, Croatia, and Serbia. But then came the 1990s, and that was not a good time for the area, with the country splitting up into several smaller independent countries, and war breaking out between some of them. It was hard for baseball, and sports in general, to keep a place in society. But somehow it didn't disappear completely. There was still a small number of players keeping the sport going throughout the 90s. They played with old or smuggled equipment. Few came to watch. Not only was baseball not a popular sport there, the situation made attending sports events difficult, but they were able to maintain an organized league. An international team of foreign diplomats and UN personnel put together a perfect season in 1993. They were not Serbian, of course, but as they mostly came from baseball-playing countries, they provided a good level of competition for the teams made of local players to play against and try to catch up with. The following year, the league became organized into the official Serbian Baseball League, which still exists today. In 1995, Serbia was admitted to the International Baseball Federation, and a year later to the Confederation of European Baseball, and the country now officially had itself a baseball program. But it was hard keeping the game going in the 90s. Because of the breakup of Yugoslavia, Serbian baseball lost funding, and because of sanctions, they were unable to compete or train outside of the country. And with the war raging on, travel within the country was very difficult. But baseball did survive, and today the Serbian national baseball team is ranked 60th in the world, one behind Costa Rica, one ahead of Belarus, only 2 places behind a rather strong baseball country in the Bahamas. In Europe, that ranking puts them at number 21, and for that they compete in the B pool of teams at the European Championships. Their goal, obviously, is to make it to the A tier, putting them up against the more elite top 16 countries in Europe. Their best performance was in the 2004 B Group Championships in Germany, where they placed 4th. The next 2 championships didn't go so well, however, and they were demoted to the C Group. But in 2016, they were first in the C Group Championship in Slovenia, and found themselves back in the B tier. The league, founded in 1994, continues today with 4 teams competing. Next year will be the 30th anniversary of the league's founding, and more than 20 of the league titles belong to Beograd 96. They won it again in 2023. The championship series is a best of 5. There is only one proper baseball field in the country. That is in the capital city of Belgrade. Baseball is played outside the capital, but usually on soccer fields. They're working on having a second field built. What potential is there for the young ball players in Serbia? If you saw a video I did before on baseball in Croatia, you've probably noticed a lot of similarities. Small country in southeastern Europe, used to be a part of Yugoslavia. Small population, but a producer of great athletes. That means baseball could be a really hard sell in a country like this. If they're already good at so many sports, how do you convince young athletes there to take up a sport they're so far behind in? Soccer gets the largest number of participants. Then come volleyball, handball, water polo, tennis, and basketball. What baseball is left with is a small number of young athletes to work with. They'll never have a lot of kids to select from, but there are always some kids willing to try it out. No other bat and ball sports in the country, so the idea of swinging at an incoming fastball with a cylindrical wooden object can seem like a very foreign concept. It's important that they get kids to take up the game at an early age, when they can more easily adapt to it. They won't be able to transfer anything similar to swinging a bat over to baseball. However, throwing skills can easily be found in handball and water polo. Those are both winter sports played indoors, so it would be possible for someone to play handball or water polo in the winter, then baseball in the summer. When you look at the way they throw in handball, it's easy to imagine them doing the same thing in baseball. So you take what they've developed in handball, and they can already make good defensive plays in baseball. And the hard throwing done in both handball and water polo could help someone more easily develop as a pitcher. If someone is going to become a major league prospect in a country with such a small number of baseball players, it's most likely going to be a pitcher. We've seen a pitcher come out of Lithuania and make it all the way to the big leagues in recent years, when the country didn't even have a proper baseball field. Another pitcher came out of Slovakia and is now in the Blue Jays system. The same thing could happen for a Serbian pitcher. Just keep throwing hard, learn a few good pitches, and someday it could really happen. For non-pitchers, they need to get some better competition. Italy is nearby, and by European standards, that's a high level of competition to train with and play against. But training and competing abroad takes money, and as always seen in a country like this, funding is hard to come by. It's not a neglected sport, it's just low on the country's priority list, so funding is limited. That also means the equipment and facilities are not of the highest standard. In fact, it appears they lag behind neighboring Croatia when it comes to the quality of fields and equipment, which could explain why they're presently ranked lower than Croatia. The U.S. Embassy has helped a little with providing equipment. There is also the Serbian Baseball Development Association, which is always trying to get equipment and grow the game inside the country. Link in the description to their site if you'd like to make a donation and help out. There's a large Serbian diaspora in the U.S. Some people in the U.S. of Serbian descent have been helping out with coaching, trying to spread the game around Serbia, and getting equipment out there. They've also helped with funding trips for Serbian ball players to travel to the U.S. and play against teams of American players. These trips would not have been possible without the help of Serbian American communities in Chicago and Los Angeles. There has never been a player born in Serbia or anywhere in the former Yugoslavia to play in Major League Baseball, but there have been many big league players with Serbian ancestry. Pete Vukovic was born to two Serbian parents, led the league in wins in 1981, and won the Cy Young in 1982, but he's best known for starring as Clu Haywood in the classic 1989 film Major League. A more recent pitcher with Serbian ancestry is Jeff Samardzija. His paternal grandparents emigrated from Serbia. His 13-year career ended just a few years ago. And an active hitter, Christian Yelich has a Serbian great-grandfather, and he was baptized in the Serbian Orthodox Church. He's won the National League MVP, 2 batting titles, and 3 Silver Sluggers. Hard to tell how many players with Serbian ancestry there are at all levels of the Major League system, independent leagues, and college ball, past and present, but there are probably a lot. I don't know how many, if any, would be eligible to participate on the Serbian national team, but if some of them would travel back to their ancestors' home, play with and against the local players, show them a thing or two about the game, it would really give the talent level in Serbia a much-needed boost. Can they get to a higher level without any additional help from the outside? Absolutely. It's a country that knows how to excel in sports. If you get a group of young athletes there playing something, they'll put in the necessary effort. If just one of them makes it to a high level of baseball, it may get the attention of those in charge, and funding for baseball will increase. It'll also help that baseball is growing in other Eastern European countries. They may be more willing to fund a sport when they know their neighbors are playing it too, but their first step should be reaching the A tier of the European Championships. Their next shot at that will be in 2025. Anyway, that's all for this one. Until next time, this is Baseball International. See ya.